So you have a TV and you want to mount it on the wall. Before you can do that, you have to figure out what type of wall you have and how it's constructed. This video is how to find the wood stud behind drywall or plaster and lath. If you have a concrete, brick, or cinder block wall, then the method for mounting the TV would be different. If you're not sure if you have a plaster wall or a drywall, try sticking a pin or a nail or something into the wall. If it goes right through, then it's a good chance that it's drywall. If it's very difficult or if it cracks and it's brittle, then it's probably plaster and lath. I'll get to that in a minute, but first, if you have a drywall, what you have is wood framing. So that's these 2x4s, they're 8 feet long, 8 or 10 feet long, and they're spaced usually either 12, 16 inches or 24 inches apart, typically 16 inches apart. And they are each nailed into bottom and top 2x4s as well, which is nailed or bolted into the floor. So if you have a heavy thing you want to hang up on the wall, to get into this stud would be extremely strong. It would take a lot of weight to pull that off the wall. So to find the wood studs behind the wall, you figure out where you want the TV, and then you get a stud finder. I like this zircon one. I also have a DeWalt one which detects the center of a wood stud. In this video clip that I'm showing you now, I demonstrate how each one finds the stud. They both find the stud. The zircon is almost a little too sensitive because it seems to find the edge a little bit away from the actual edge on each side, at least in this example. What I like to do is then mark the edges and then look at the center, and then you test it. Same thing with the DeWalt or any kind of stud finder. You're going to mark where you want it, find the stud, and then you're going to test to make sure that you're in the wood stud before you go ahead and try to drive one of these bolts in. Because if you're not in the center of it, then you're going to get to the edge and it might split and it's not going to hold. You might have an expensive mistake there on your hands. So what I like to do is I take this, I got this from a picker set or something, but I call it an awl. You find out where it is that you want to put it. If it's right here, and then you just simply poke through. Drywall is very soft, and it's gypsum in between two sheets of cardboard, so it doesn't take much effort. And so you can see I got on the edge there. If I were to drill a pilot hole, which you will, you'll drill a pilot hole for the lag bolt. You won't just drive the lag bolt in, because then you might split the wood. You're going to get a drill bit. Look at the instructions for the exact size, but you're going to get a drill bit the size of the shank, but smaller than the screws or the threads. That way you're going to drill a hole through the 2x4 at least 2.5 inches, depending on the size of the bolt, and then you're going to drive the bolt in, and you want to make sure you're in the center. Like I said, you're going to poke. What you could do is, when you find the center, you can make more holes in the drywall by figuring out where the edges are, as you can see. So that would be one edge, and then you can poke through the other side. And remember, if you're poking through and then you go through like that, then you're not in the wood. But if you can poke through and then you feel resistance, then you're in the wood. Of course, you'd want it to be in the center, so you get a good stud finder that would find the center. And then from there, you know you're in a wood stud. And then you could drill your pilot hole, and then you would drive your bolts. If you have metal studs, if you have a metal magnet that goes all the way up and down each stud, then you probably have a metal stud. You can find it with a stud finder or one of these magnetic stud finders. And then what you would do in that case, if you have metal studs, you drill a hole and then you could get one of these stepper bits, or you could just go right in and try to drill a 1/2 inch hole, or get one of these driller togglers and drill a 3/8 inch hole in the metal. The metal stud is more narrow. This is about 1.5 inches. The metal stud will be about 1.25 inches, so you have to make sure you're in the center. Again, you can poke a few exploratory holes to figure out where exactly the edges are, get in the center, and then you'll drill a 3/8 inch hole if you have one of these things, and then you put it through, and then you can see my video on that, or a 1/2 inch hole, and then you'll get these flip toggles or snap toggles. And then what you'll end up doing is the toggle will go vertical, so it's along vertical along the metal stud, and then you'll snap these up to the flush with the drywall, and then you put a bolt through, and then this will be the TV mount right here. So it'll be the metal TV mount, metal bolt, metal channel back here tight to the metal stud, and that will be very strong, especially if you have 4 of them. Now, I have this example here. If you have wood studs that are strangely spaced 24 inches wide, then you're going to want to get at least, if you have a TV mount that has 4 holes exactly 16 inches apart, which is what I've seen sometimes, you're going to want to get at least 2 bolts into a wood stud. And then if you have it oddly spaced, or if you can see this example, if these were 2x4s, they might be 16 inches on center down here at the top and the bottom, but what happens in the middle? If those studs are bowed, this could be 18 inches wide, and then your little TV mount that is only 16 inches wide, you're going to have a problem. In that case, 2 lag bolts into wood stud, and then you can use these. They can hold up to 100 pounds each. I recommend always trying to get at least 2 bolts into a stud. I like the single stud TV mounts. 3 of these things and a wood stud, it's going to hold a pretty heavy TV. But if you have a TV mount that needs 4 bolts, then you'll have to figure out where the studs are. If you have a problem, or if it's strangely spaced, 17 inches on center, the framers may have made a mistake. They may have been not very good framers, but either way, either move the location of the TV, or you have to do some solution to that problem, which I would say to use these. Now you can watch my video about being careful and just being alert and just knowing what could go in the middle of these studs. You have plumbing and electrical, and you could have a problem if you're drilling your pilot hole and then driving your lag bolt that's that long. It's only a 1/2 inch of drywall here. It would be nice if they were about this size and there was more of them, but then of course people would complain there's too many holes to put in their wall for their TV. But if you have a plaster and lath wall, then you will use these metallic or magnetic stud finders to find the, I'll use an example. You have horizontal laths nailed into a wood stud, vertical or horizontally nailing into a vertical stud, and then the plaster is then put over those wood lath. You're not going to want to mount your TV through these lath. They're not going to be strong enough. You're going to want to get into the stud. Now the nails that have been nailed into the horizontal stud can be found with something like this, a magnetic stud finder. And then you'll be able to measure 16 inches over, roughly, find another one, and then there you go. Then you've got your locations for 2 studs, 4 lag bolts, and you got your TV up. So that's if there's drywall with wood studs, even with strangely spaced studs, drywall over metal studs, plaster and lath over wood studs. So if you have any of those types of walls, then hopefully these tips will help you mount your TV. Please subscribe for more tips just like that. Thank you for watching.